Alright, so for any 4-H project, the first step is always to determine that you've got the right equipment. So for our project today, learning how to tie a fish hook, we've got this nifty little doohickey here, made out of an old coat hanger and a little hook there, and a simple piece of paracord. So to start off with, I'm going to do an easy one. This is called the improved clinch knot. So to start out with, you take your hook, slide the paracord through, get a good amount of length there. Then simply wrap this short end several times around the long end. Then feed the end through that little loop there. Then one more time to be on the safe side. Pull it tight. And behold, you have a fisherman's improved clinch knot. Alright, so now we move on to our next one, a personal favorite of mine, called the Snail knot. Take our fish hook, feed the paracord down one end to about the end of the fish hook, like so. Then take the other end of your paracord and feed it back up the other way until you've got a loop about as long as the fish hook. Then simply take this excess end and then wrap it around the length of the fish hook, usually about 4 or 5 times. So got a good 4 there. Then simply pull the line, and then you got one tight snell knot that even the biggest fish will not be able to get off of. Then our next knot, actually I like to do, in addition to the snell knot, what's called the end loop knot. So as you can guess, it's going to go on the end of this. So for your end loop knot, all you need to do is make a loop like so. Then cross it like so. Then wrap it around like so. Then one more time for good measure. Pull it tight. And voila, you've got an end loop knot that'll be very good at holding that pesky trout or salmon and let you reel him into your boat and then into your pan. Alright, now the last knot that we're going to be doing in this video is one that, as a fisherman, I really haven't used all that often, but it's definitely one that I do enjoy tying. So, got our fish hook, but instead of feeding one end of the paracord through the loop, what you're going to want to do is fold your paracord neatly in half, like so, and feed the loop down there to about the length of the end of the fish hook. Then give yourself a little more slack there. Loop it around once, pulling it good and tight. And then one more time for good measure. Now with the remainder of your loop, all you got to do is feed it down like so. Then pulling it good and tight. You have a finely crafted Palomar knot. Like so. Again, good and strong.